Bonjour there, my brothers, and welcome to the guide of the guides, as I like to call. But yeah, it's basically just a pretty lengthy guide on how to, first of all, progress after you are done with the main study as well as exploration quest. I will not cover the very basics of that. I will assume that by the time you're watching this, you're someone who wants to progress further and you have finished both the main story, meaning the Hill Kingdom story, up to Act 5, Chapter 46. You don't need to do this because this basically just requires you to do area exploration. But up until this point, I expect you to be finished with the main story, as well as you have finished area exploration for all 5 continents except Kaslan. Because Kaslan quests require you a lot of gameplay, as you can see, even I haven't finished some of the quests and I've been playing for like 4 months. So yeah, this one is not important. Do what you can, but don't try to push it very hard. But yeah, I'm assuming that you are done with all of these quests. So starting with Woodland region and up until the Yokurangma. These are super easy. They're way easier than the story mode usually because you can fully order. There are no manual dungeons that are hard to do, and mostly it's just doing a certain task, maybe crafting an item, maybe crafting a gem or something like that, equipping potions, very simple stuff. It will take some time for some quests, but they're definitely easier than the main story was, in my opinion. And yeah, this guide will focus on further progress after you are done with the main quest. So to understand on how to progress, well, I'll also try to cover on how a monster power works and how you can increase that monster power, because monster power is super important in this game. It's not just the skills or the units that you use, because a lot of dungeons actually require the monster power for you to get the bonus, and as you can see, the higher ones, like the Spires for Ascension has 120 stages, and 68 already has the power limit of 500,000, so you can imagine how high that goes. And this is the same for pretty much a lot of various harder raids and stuff like that. So this power number is important, and if you are above the power limit, you do get a damage reduction as well as a damage dealt bonus. And if you are way below that level, as you can see, you get pretty hefty penalties. The orange penalty is not too bad, but once you get into the harder range, dungeons are pretty much, not just dungeons, but content in general is pretty much undoable. So yeah, I'll lower my screen just so you could see stuff a little better. And yeah, first of all, to understand how to increase power, we have to understand how you gain power and what sources of power gaining are there. So for the monsters, you can actually enter your monster, and next to the power button or power count, you can see a button to check all of the monster power, and this will give you a detailed breakdown of that monster's power. So monster, I'll quickly go over what this means, and I'll talk about how to increase each one later on. Monster refers to the base stats, meaning that at their maximum level, what sort of base stats they currently have without counting any skill ups, runes, stuff like that. For awakening, it of course refers to the awakening level, and it is a pretty decent contributor to it. That's why you should move to further awaken your units, especially later in the game. For runes, of course, it refers to the runes, the sets, the enchanting items on those runes. Account effect refers to the level ups from the account skills, and this is why I recommend doing the bottom 3 for your account skills, because this affects 3 units instead of your 1 summoner, meaning that you gain more power from it. Power of Ascension, of course, refers to the powers that you get from Trial of Ascension and Spires of Ascension. Basically, the first 3, then the Immemorial power powers up your summoner, and the Summon power powers up your monsters, and that's also why the second 3 is a bit more important than the first, but more on that later as well. The book refers to the extra effects that you get from the dupes of what you call the unit that you're using, as well as the 1 and 3 star units. So whenever you use a unit, you can enter here and you'll see that your unit actually gets a lot of base stat buffs from the buff if you have a lot of dupes for it. And even if you don't, those very first dupes will be the most efficient. The more dupes you have, the less stats you are gaining. As you can see, the next level will only be 300 HP, while the first level would be like 1.5k. So yeah, you do need a few dupes for a lot of power gain, but later on it decreases by a bunch. And you also get power from 1 to 3 star monsters, because these affect your whole account, not just the regular unit, but more on that later on. And the last way you get power is by enhancing skills. And this is, first of all, why using units without max skills is pretty much not possible in this game. And if you have a nat 5 without the skill ups and you have a nat 3 with skill ups, like almost fully skilled up, that nat 3 will perform miles better than the nat 5 without skill ups. Not only because their skills are like 2 times weaker, but also because that contributes to like what? Is that 30,000 of Bastette's power? So imagine if she didn't have any skill ups, she would only be sitting at 90,000. Now, if you imagine that you're using 3 units like that, basically you're dropping 100,000 power just because the units aren't skilled up. And the same for the Summoner. You can see a breakdown of the power here. So Summoner refers to the base stats he comes with. Transcendence is something you do to increase your max level of the Summoner. So basically, the Summoners can level up to level 60, but through the Transcendence menu, you can unlock 5 Transcendences, and each Transcendence will unlock 2 extra levels up to a level 70. So Transcendence refers to the base stats you get from that Transcendence level up. Equipment, of course, the 10 equipped items, and their power-ups, their substats, the enchantment items on them, the passive buffs on them, because 6-star weapons do have a lot of passive buffs on them as well. And what else is there? Account effect, of course, refers to the top part of the account tree, similar to the bottom one for monsters. Tower of Ascensions, as mentioned, is the very first Tower of Ascension shop tree, which affects the summoner only. Closet refers to the equipment that you have, and for this, I don't recommend focusing on Closet because, first of all, you only get a very, very low amount of power. For my Cleave, it's like what, around 900 to 1,000 currently, and the cost of that Closet is super high, so yeah, definitely don't focus it. I've crafted a few easier ones. I'm not focusing on the harder ones. I still have a bunch to craft, but even if I craft them all, that power will go to like 1.5% at most, and for the cost that it costs to craft all of those, it's just not worth it for me just yet. And enhanced skill, of course, refers to the skill ups that you put on your summoner. So I will show you how you can get more skills, because you only get 5 skill ups per level, and additional ones you will have to do with these things called skill books. So yeah, now that we reviewed how the power works, I'll give you the sort of a progression guide on how to move further after you're done with story and area exploration. Okay, so the first things I'm gonna cover are, you do not have to do them in this order. However, this is something you always have to do. Basically, I'm not going to put them in a specific spot in which you should do them, but this is something you do every few days, every week, every few weeks, and this is just something that passively gathers, so it's not worth putting at a certain spot. So first of all, the Transcendence materials, which we talked about in the Transcendence menu. To use these Transcendence materials, you will need Alchemy 3 unlocked, and these Transcendence materials will allow you to craft these symbols. And these symbols are the items that are used in the Transcendence. You get these symbols passively from just doing dungeons, so usually you will get harmony pieces, no, not harmony, but these energy pieces instead of the full one. Some dungeons do have a rare chance to drop the full one. Usually these drop from the Party Dungeon and from Rupture, so like the Distorted Island or the Sunken Ruins. They do have a small chance to drop these, but you will get them eventually. In most cases, however, you will only get pieces, so one of the sources getting them is through the Rupture. The main source for them will be the Path of Growth, so there are 3 dungeons currently here, so Path of Training, Path of Adventure, and Subjugation, and each one drops a different color. So in the beginning, you will notice that you will have a lot of purple ones stocked up, and that's because the rune dungeons, all of them drop the purple pieces, and don't be worried if you have a lot of stocked up, because you do need runes first of all, so the Transcendence will be a bit harder to do, and it's something you shouldn't focus on primarily. It is just something that you should passively gather, because the Transcendence power, while it's useful, it will not be a huge boost to your power, especially for the cost that it costs. Because personally, I only recently leveled up to level 7, so it took like around 3 months. And the power you get, as you can see, what was the part of Transcendence? 1.5%. So 1.5% from Transcendence alone, I would say another like 3% for the base stats that you get for that. In total, that makes like 8,000 power for 3 months of active work to leveling it up. Definitely not worth putting effort into, but as you do these dungeons regularly, these will just stock up. You will get some from events eventually as well, so just keep them collected, and by the time you have to do subjugation, for example, or you will level up a lot of green ones, you will most likely be left with a low amount of red ones. So once you decide to focus Transcendence, you will need to do a bit of Path of Training, but for regular use, I don't recommend doing Path of Training once you're progressing with the very first steps. So yeah, that's how you collect Transcendence, but it is something you shouldn't focus on primarily. And the second way you will passively gain power is through the Trial of Ascension and Spires of Ascension. Also, I'm not putting a specific order in which you should do these, because this is something you'll have to do very commonly. I would say I personally do Spire of Ascensions like every 2 weeks, but I used to do them a bit more often because I gained power at a very faster rate previously. Right now, the power I gain is very slow. I may gain like 1,000 power every week or something. So since these stages increase by like 6,000 to 7,000 power per stage, I'm not going to make that much progress on them. But in the beginning, you will see jumps of like 20,000, 30,000 in a very fast amount of time. So like maybe you might increase your power in like 30,000 in a day. And by then, it's worth revisiting both the Trial of Ascension and Spires of Ascension. I personally recommend just doing Trials of Ascension on order, seeing as far as you can get on order. Once you fail, I recommend stopping and just going to Spires of Ascension, trying out the same thing. Do the order stages, however many you can. Ignore the elemental towers, they don't contribute to the power at all. Go for as many stages as you can do on order. Then, after you're done with those stages, you actually have these challenges. And these challenges happen when you have cleared the stage. So for example, I already cleared stage 59, meaning that I have now 3 challenges, and they will require you to place specific units or not use specific units. For example, this one, level 1, required me to place a dark monster and a warrior monster. Level 2 required me to place 2 night monsters in the team. Level 3 requires me to place water monsters and water warrior monsters. So basically, if I don't put those units in the team, I am not able to do it. So for water monster, I will use Bastet, for example. For warrior, I will use him. The third slot is up to you. As you can see, once you have met the condition, you can pick whoever. So if I pick that, I would enter the stage, and if I completed it, I would get these tokens. And this is how you get all 3 of these tokens, by doing challenges. Level 1 will drop the green ones, level 2 will drop the bronze ones, and level 3 will drop the gold ones. And these ones you get from regular Trial of Ascension stages. And since this reset, you will get a lot of these Knight Shields. Once the TOA is coming to a close, maybe like a day or 2 before it resets, I do recommend pushing TOA as far as you can, even on manual, because the rewards you get from it are important. It's just something you shouldn't focus on manualing until the reset timer is closed, because by the time it's closed, you will be able to push it and focus more. If you focus it right now, for example, and you improve 50,000 power later, by the time it resets, you could have just ordered those stages with the extra 50,000 boost most likely, so it's just not worth focusing your time. And yeah, once you get these tokens, this is how I recommend investing them. So you should focus on summon power first of all, but the first 2 upgrades on each tree, so like regardless of which power you're choosing, go through all 4 of these and invest into the first 2 upgrades for all of them. This is because the first 2 only use the Knight Shields and you will have plenty of them. At level 3, they start costing different tokens, so you should save a bit of those. I personally am not a fan of this tree at all because it affects only a specific element. For alchemy power, you can max it a bit, but I don't recommend maxing it too much because this tree does not give any power to you. It only gives the powers that are written on the skill here. The one you should focus the most is the summon power, because this will affect all of your monsters. And the second most important will be the immemorial power, because this will affect your summoner. And I personally recommend focusing in this way. So for summoning power, of course, you increase all of them by 2 levels. After that, try to have the summon power upgrades around 3 levels higher than the immemorial power. So for example, level up these to level 5, all of them. Once you are pushing level 6, once you're done with level 6, go to this and put all of the upgrades to level 3. And just repeat that step. Once you go to 7, go this to level 4. Once you go level 8, go this to level 5. And this is basically how you can maximize the efficiency of the power, because the monster power will give you around 3 times more power than the summoner power. But the higher you go, the cost of that monster power will increase significantly, so it will be more efficient to do the summon power at some point. And now starting with the main tips for progression. So at this point, I tried to compare how I did it on an alt account when I was doing my main game guide. And I noticed that I finished the story when I was around monster power 180,000 with like the Fire Fairy, Wind Shannon, and the Water Garuda. I haven't completed the area exploration, meaning that I didn't get the awards from there. So I will assume that you have somewhere higher power than me, because you received the awards from the area exploration, and you should pretty much be able to reach like monster power 200,000 or somewhere like that. So I'm going to be starting from that point. And the very first point I recommend doing is to actually just level up the Holy Trinity just a bit more. For Water Garuda, I recommend, well, first of all, I'm going to start that you should level them up to level 70, all of them. So both the Water Garuda, the Wind Pixie, and the Fire Fairy, they should all go to level 70. They should all have max skills. Do not be stingy with the skills and just max them out. It's super important. Evolution, of course, it's max because it's at level 70. For Awakening, the Garuda, I recommend leveling to Awaken level 15 because he will be useful in the future as well. For the Fire Fairy and the Wind Pixie, you can stop at Awakening level 10. However, if you do want to get that extra boost, you can level them to Awaken 15 because the price isn't too high for Nat 3 units, and the power you get will help you. So as you can see, they gain 3,000 power without any runes. So it is quite a big jump. I personally haven't maxed because I leveled them up by the time I was already done with the main story, and like long ago. But yeah, for the beginning, all of them level 70, max skill, max level up, max evolve. Awaken Garuda to 15, the other two to Awaken 10, but you can go higher as well. The next most important step after you are done with the story will be focusing on Path of Growth, and you will need to focus on 2 dungeons. First of all, I recommend going to Path of Adventure, and this is where you get the runes for your monsters. Later on, you will want to move to Subjugation and get some basic equipment for your summoner. So for Path of Adventure, your main goal will be to unlock any dungeon at level 8. I personally recommend these 2 for beginners, but whichever one you are able to do the easiest, do that. And basically, if you are able to do the same dungeon at the same level, for example, if you are able to complete this at level 8 and this at level 8, I would recommend doing this. But if you can do Queen Spider level 9 and others only level 8, I do recommend doing the highest level dungeon you can. And once you reach level 8, you will actually unlock 5-star runes, meaning that you no longer get 4-star runes or lower from lower stages. This will be like the big milestone to acquiring actually runes with good stats, not only the runes that you randomly get from the story. And with good rune stats, you will be able to make specific builds for your units. So for example, you can build your Garuda on full HP, so he increases the healing he does. You can build your Fire Fairy on a regular damage dealer build, so she increases the damage she deals instead of just having a defense or resistance as their stat, because that's just what you got from the story. And after you are done with level 8, your next goal will be to focus on level 12 or higher, because at level 12, you will no longer be getting 5-star blue runes, and this will be another huge jump to your progress, as purple and legendary tier runes will have more sub-properties, meaning that overall stats will increase by a whole sub-property. And that whole sub-property is usually worth like 500 power on average, and if you can imagine 6 runes on 3 units, that's 18 increases in total. If you give 500 power to each of those increases, that's like 10,000 power. So, yeah, you will need to focus on level 12. Of course, go as far as you can if you are able to do it, but level 12 should be the minimum goal you strive for. Once you're at level 12, farm the runes for a good week or two. Use the free entries. You can use the free refresh that you get, not free, but the cheapest refresh for 50. If you have the crystals and you would like to speed up the progress, you can go even further, but I personally only do 50 because I no longer really need runes from this dungeon. After you're done with runes, equip them on your units, power them up. I would recommend for 5-star units. For blue ones, you can go to around plus 12. Once you get purple and legend tier ones, don't be afraid to max them to plus 15 because you will use them for a long time and you will not swap them for a long time. So the higher you can go, the more useful it will be. After that, you focus on subjugation, and from here you will get items for your summoner. Which subjugation you do really doesn't matter that much because the set bonuses on them, well, first of all, I don't even think they exist, the sub bonuses, right? It's just that the types of gear you get will change, but that gear type is not too important because that gear will be replaced pretty soon. So you farm subjugation for a bit, get a set of summoner gear that matches your summoners. For example, if you play Orbia, try to get stats that do damage like attack, crit damage, crit rate. If you're playing Cleave, you can go for various builds. You can go damage, you can go full tank, you can go on defense. Defense will usually be the most important because, first of all, your damage skills with defense. So not only will you be tankier, but also do more damage. For Kina, I believe her stuff skills with one of those 3 base stats. I would recommend checking on the scaling through the skill menu. As you can see, it will be shown here. So for Cleave, for example, first skill skills with attack, second skill with attack and defense, third skill with defense and attack as well. So just check which one it scales with and focus on those stats. I would recommend for Kina, but I don't remember her scalings, whether it's like HP or attack, so I don't want to mislead you in that. And once you get some gear, power it up to like plus 9, I would say. There's no really need to push it that much further. My recommendation is to go enhance and enhance as far as you can until the weapon breaks for the first time. I don't recommend restoring durability because the restoring durability is pretty expensive, and by the time you need to restore durability, it usually is not worth powering, as there is a very low chance you are getting that extra level. In some cases, you may restore if you are 1 away from an extra sub-property. So for example, if the weapon broke at like plus 8, you can consider restoring to get to plus 9 to get an extra sub-property, but even then, really look whether it's worth it because that gear will be replaced probably a week or 2 after. So yeah, just farm some gear and equip it on your summoner, power it up, and by now I do recommend unlocking Alchemy level 3 because first of all, you will want to equip some of these blue gems on your summoner equipment as they power your monsters, and you use 3 monsters at once, meaning that you get a way higher power boost from all of the enchanted items compared to gems, or rather from gems compared to any other enchanted item. For other items, I just recommend crafting the white tier of the items. So for sunstones, moonstones, galaxy stones, spell books, just do the white tier because first of all, the higher ones will require you to get higher levels. Second of all, you cannot reuse these like you can with gems, meaning that if you craft a higher tier one and you use it on a rune that you no longer want, you will not have any way to take it back. This is why gems are important to craft in high tiers early on, but for other stats, do just craft the white tier runes and be done with it. Oh, and a quick note for which equipment, not equipment, but enchantment items to craft. For gems, you will of course have 3 times. Well, for gems and the books, it looks like. The red ones give offensive stats, the blue ones give defensive stats, and the green ones give utility stats, as you can see written right here as well. For books, and for gems actually, I do recommend for red ones going for attack or crit damage. Of course, these have to be percentage values. Do not go for flat values because flat values are insanely bad and the power you get is like 10 times lower compared to the percentage one. So for attack ones, go attack percent or crit damage percent. In some cases, you can go crit percent, but keep in mind that since crit is limited, if you get crit rate from other sources, that crit rate that's enhanced on your equipment will pretty much be useless. So I do recommend going for stats that do not have a cap on them. For blue ones, you want to go HP percent or defense percent. Really doesn't matter which, unless that unit has specific scaling for it. So for example, if you want to level up Konamiya, you can go for HP percent for a little bit increased healing. But the bonus healing you get from that will not be that huge, so you can get away with defense percent as well, as you'll just have to craft less books for it. And for utility, I usually recommend going for attack speed or accuracy, because these two will be the most important stats. Resistance, you'll really not need to focus unless you're going for a specific build or a specific unit. Accuracy and precision, usually those stats don't matter much because basic attacks don't do too much damage, especially in PvE, and you're mostly trying to protect yourself against charge attacks, and precision and accuracy, or rather precision and evasion, they only affect basic attacks, they don't affect the charge attacks, so it will not be that much use in preventing them. And another important thing to focus on after finishing the story is you may have received a lot of these heal orders from the pre-registration if you have done that. If not, you will slowly be hitting the cap as well, and you never want to be above the cap, because when you're above a 100 cap or whichever the maximum is for you, it increases with levels, so the higher the level, the higher the cap. You never want to be sitting over the cap, because first of all, you do not get the 20 daily ones. And second of all, when you're above the cap, you will not be able to refresh your entries starting with the cheap ones, meaning that if you have refreshed 150 and you are over the cap, you will not be able to refresh the 150 again, and instead it will cost you 300. And it will only drop the next day after you are below the cap. So I do recommend using these as soon as possible. And to do that, you will want to unlock level 55 Witcher Summoner. And with the level 55, you go to the Runkorangma region and you start with the Calming the Disturbance. You will be able to get Path of Growth tickets from here, and these will be important for events, as well as you'll be able to get 10 Breath of Lives per quest, as well as 3 Unknown Scrolls, which will boost your monster book power, as well as allow you to get even more skill ups for your units that way. 56 is a good option, but you should focus on it later on, because first of all, Essence dungeons are only required for Awakening, while these ones will give you runes, and these contribute to the progress much more. Second of all, the other items you get, the yarn balls, they're only used for crafting closet items, so like not equipment, but outfits. And as you know, outfits don't contribute to much power at all, thus they're not really worth it. If you are not able to reach level 55, you can sort of boost your progress a lot by just being level 50. At level 50, you can see these Start of Pioneering quests. These normal XP potions will be super important for raising your account level. And first of all, these quests only cost 1 to repeat compared to the 4 that it cost for the last 2. With this, you first of all will be stacking up on normal XP potions, which you can use to level up all your monsters. And it's super important to level up because each level of a monster increases your account level XP by a bit. And as you can see, all of my monsters are powered to around level 40 minimum. For the higher ones, they are of course higher. And I only keep 1 for the quests whenever I need to. And these potions will be super important for leveling up because, as you can see, you get account levels. With those account levels, you get first of all these permanent buffs, second of all these decent rewards, and third of all account skills, which do give a very big boost of power to your summoner. Oh, and also I almost forgot that the repeat request itself, it actually gives a lot of XP, and that XP is very comparable to a lot of dungeons actually. This will allow you to level up your summoner that much faster, so you could unlock these repeat requests and do them as soon as possible. So yeah, you don't need to have level 55 right off the bat. You can farm from level 50, and this way you will be able to level up super fast. As you can see, that's 12,000 power per repeat request, and one of the biggest sources of power is Path of Adventure dungeons, and these give 27,000. So 2 repeat requests is pretty much equal to a level 15 dungeon. And you may not be able to complete level 15 yet, but for example, if you can do level 11, you know how much XP these dungeons give to your summoner, and doing that like 20 times a day from the repeat request will be actually insane boost to your summoner level. And by this point, with all of the upgrades you did, improved your monsters, improved your summoner equipment a bit, improved your runes quite a bit, you will want to start looking into the harder dungeons, and the first dungeon you should focus on is the Elite Foggy Prison. For this dungeon, you will need a power limit of 225,000 to get the bonus, and I do recommend getting the bonus before entering because, first of all, there is a good chance that you will be kicked from the party if you do not meet the bonus. Second of all, it's a problem of not doing more damage, but rather taking more damage from Foggy Prison, and some of their attacks are pretty scary. I'm not even counting the ultimate attacks, I'm counting the regular attacks. So if you get caught in one and you take a huge hit, there's a good chance that your units will die. This is why I recommend going in with the power bonus, and you should have a pretty easy time getting that power bonus with all of the tips that I mentioned previously. And once you're in the Foggy Prison, you will be able to get 5-star legendary summoner items. The main improvement for these items compared to the ones you get from subjugation is, first of all, these summoner items actually have slots for gems, meaning that the gems you get will be more important and you will be able to put more on them compared to the regular items you get from subjugation. I'm not sure if I have any gear right now, but I'll try to check. Yeah, for example, I found this weapon that I got from Foggy. It's just in my storage. As you can see, legendary item, of course, it will have 4 substat, and this item will have 3 slots. There is a chance that you will get an item with only 2 slots, but those are pretty rare, and usually you will get items with 3 slots. These 3 slots allow you to equip more items on your summoner. I think I have a few, maybe, yeah, as you can see, there's the green one missing, but the green one isn't really important, so you can't miss that. Another item, there you have all 3, and it also has decent stats as well. So basically, farm Foggy a little bit, power those items, equip gems on them, equip, if you are using a new item, of course, the one you replaced from the previous subjugation, again, do craft white tier items for your summoner equipment. So I think it's the Moonstone and the Galaxy Stone for equipment, if I'm not wrong. And equip it on that. Of course, focus only on percentage stats, and I do recommend focusing on the few main stats like HP, defense, attack, or crit damage, because those will give you the most power compared to any other stat. And that way you will be able to slowly increase the power of your summoner, allowing you to both gain more power as well as do harder dungeons a little bit easier. And for gems, since you can reuse those gems on other gear, you will want to go to the handworker. If, of course, if you have those gems equipped on your subjugation here, you go to this guy, you go to the unequipped gem option, you add the gem or you add the weapon which has the gems equipped, and you simply select all of the gems, you click remove. It will be way cheaper for you because you will most likely not be able to craft purple tier gems. I think the blue tier gems only cost like 7,000 gold to remove, which is like nothing. You remove all of these, and the gems you get, you simply place them on the weapon you get from the Foggy Prison. That way the gems got transferred to a better weapon and will have more stats overall. And by this point, you may be getting close to having enough skill ups to build a 4-star unit. So if you do have a good 4-star unit, for example, if you need a good healer, you can build a Waterfall for some dungeons. I think I have one right here as well. If you need a decent damage dealer, you can go for something like the Wind Cat, Naomi, because she's sort of like a mini Argon if you haven't summoned him, and will prove you useful. If you have any other support units for those dungeons, they will be useful as well. For example, if you have pulled the Crowa, you are extremely lucky, and congrats, because it's like the best raid support ever. If you get any other Nat 4 units, like a Dark Inogami, for example, he will be super useful in raids. Start leveling useful 4-star units, and only level them if they will help you progress. If you just want to level any unit, I don't recommend doing it, as 4-stars are still pretty hard to skill up, especially early on. And once you have built that unit, the main advantages of 4-star units compared to 3-star units come from the book itself. First of all, 4-star units will have extra skill ups, meaning that each skill up will give them more power. Second of all, 4-star units have a different book effect compared to the 3-stars. So if I go to any 4-star unit, and for example, I'll go to this Penguinite, as you can see, if you check the book effect, it will show defense 53 and evasion 2.2%. That's a buff this penguin gets, only the fire penguin gets, because you basically received some dupes of that unit and you are able to give more power to the specific unit. This is something that 3-star units do not have, because for all units that are 1 to 3 stars, these buffs don't work on them. They actually work on your whole account, meaning that if you were to use a 3-star unit, for example, let's compare Fire Fairy to the Fire Penguin. Of course, it's a bad comparison because Fire Fairy is way better in terms of skills, but now we're just comparing in terms of stats. The Fire Fairy gives 15 attack to all fire monsters in your account, meaning that the Fire Fairy itself would only get a 15 attack boost. Now, if we go to the Fire Penguin, remember that he gets the same 15 attack boost from the 3-star units. On top of that, he gets a buff specifically for himself, meaning that he now has 53 defense, 2.2% evasion, and another 15 attack from the 3-star unit. And there are a lot of 3-stars, there are a lot of 2 and 1 stars, and each of them give buffs to your whole account, meaning that the units that are 4-star and 5-star will have way more power increase compared to any 3-star unit that you may be using. And last of all, usually Nat 4 units do have higher base stats, meaning that percentage runes will also have a little bit of a higher effect on them. Account skills will also have a little bit of a higher effect compared to the 3-stars. That way, you will be able to get just a little bit more extra stats, and those extra stats will give you just a little bit more power from those units. And yeah, just to give you a sort of a comparison, as you can see, this is a this is a bad comparison. Let me find a unit that is fully, there we go, Economia. My Economia is fully maxed out. It has Awakening 15, it has max evolution, max skills. As you can see, I have equipped a set of runes. Did I equip it? I did. It doesn't show for some reason. Oh, there you go. I have equipped this tank set. I think it's like triple HP or something like that. Yeah. Currently, my Economia is sitting on 84,000 power with this set. Now, if I go to a different healer, this is Lulu. It also has max awakening, max skills, everything like that. If I equip the same set on her, you will notice that the power for this unit actually goes to 88,000. This means that the Nat 4 unit compared to the Nat 3 unit actually got 4,000 more power. Whether it all comes from runes or not, I'm not sure, but also the skills contributed because these usually have more skill points. The base stats contributed, and all of the percentage buffs from various sources also contribute more because the base stats for Lulu will be higher than for Economia, meaning that you will be getting extra power from Nat 4 units and Nat 5 units compared to the 3-star units. And soon enough, I know this content isn't released by the time I'm making this video, but it should be released pretty soon. And if we're looking either a few weeks from now, or if you are playing, for example, on a server that's older, like the North American or the Korean servers, this dungeon will be released already, and it's called the White Shadow Castle Mythos. You should have a pretty easy time doing it because, first of all, the dungeon itself is super simple. The mechanics behind it are super simple as well, and I will make a more detailed guide when it comes out on the global server, so you could understand on how to manage the boss's attacks, how to successfully pick a team for it, and successfully defeat the boss. For the boss itself, the power limit you need is 290,000. For starting with this boss, I do really highly recommend hitting the power limit before entering the dungeon. The main reason behind that is because this dungeon is the first dungeon where you will actually need to do a specific amount of time or specific amount of damage in a specific amount of time, since one of the boss's attacks only lasts like 15 to 20 seconds. And if you do not kill the arm that gets placed into the ground in that specific amount of time, you will actually pretty much lose the run, because the boss will shoot an ultimate attack that has insane amount of damage, especially if you're early on, and you'll have to restart the dungeon. So yeah, when starting with Wider Shadow Castle, make sure you have 290,000 power when entering it. The units that you need to use, I'll discuss on that video specifically, but this will be the second option for getting the summoner gear, because as you can see, the gear you get from here will be better than Foggy Prison, and you still get 5-star gear, but you will be getting 2 extra awakening levels on it. And extra awakening levels means that the base stats of the gear will be higher. As you can see, let's compare a shield. A shield with 5-star 2 awaken is 12,784 HP. For Froggy, you can see that a 5-star shield without any awakenings is only 10,300. That's a 2,400 boost, and you can see the same for weapons like 1,306 compared to 1,108. That's 200 attack, and you can imagine all that for all of the equipment. That does stack up quite a bit. So this is the second gear that you will want to be acquiring for. Of course, just like with Foggy Prison, you should not do any crafting to increase the awakening power of that gear, because you will want to do that later on, as you do not want to waste materials just yet before all of the dungeons are out. Get the best amount of gear you can get, power that gear once again, just like we did with Foggy. If you have changed a gear from Foggy or from Certification to the White Shadow Castle gear, do craft some white effect stones, moonstones, whatever they're called. Put them on the equipment, remove the gems from the previous equipment, add them to this equipment. This equipment will also have, since the awakening level is higher, there is a higher chance that you will get all 3 slots unlocked rather than 2 slots on some weapons, meaning that you will need the few extra gems if you haven't crafted them yet, but this will also mean that you get extra power from it. And this should boost your summoner power by quite a bit, as well as your monster power by a tiny bit from those extra gems. And by this point, once you are able to farm meters, this is probably the, I would say, the period where you should focus a bit on crafting, not just improving through dungeons. Of course, if you build a lot of Nat 5s, and if you have the ability to build Nat 5s, so meaning that you have a lot of extra essence, you have a lot of extra Delmons, you can start building Nat 5s that are useful for progress. So if you got stuff like Argen, like the Wind Vampire, he will boost a lot of power, and he will also be useful for dungeons, so you can build him. If you do not have it, I do recommend going to the profession screen. You have already leveled up level 3 from before, as you remember, because you need to unlock white gear from here as well as blue gems. And you will want to unlock Transcendence to passively do it while you're improving your account. Now, it will be a big step. It will cost a lot of gold, it will cost a lot of time, but you will have to do it eventually. So I do recommend getting it over with as soon as you can, and that's leveling your alchemy up to level 6. Of course, to level your alchemy to level 6, you may need to level up your processing by some levels as well, because that alchemy will be using some materials from, I believe, the higher level tiers of processing as well. I think to craft their gems, you will probably need these red diamonds, meaning that you need level 5 processing. Of course, you can buy all of these items from the trade office, but you will be paying a lot, which I don't recommend, and you will want to unlock processing eventually anyway, so it's better to just get it over with. Both processing and alchemy require a lot of manual gathering, or just gathering a lot with the Lizardman NPC, but trust me, you will need it, so it's better to just get over it. Once you have reached level 6, there will be 2 important milestones. First of all, you will be able to craft purple tier red and blue gems, and these gems will be super useful for increasing your monster stats by quite a bit, and this is something I do recommend doing. As you can see, I myself am dropping full purple tier gems on all of my equipment. You don't need to unlock level 7 for the green ones, because green ones are usually utility and in turn provide way less stats and way less power, but for the green and blue ones, it's pretty necessary to unlock them as soon as possible. And yeah, as you can see, there's no way to show it on other than the how they look, but as you can see, they're all purple tier. And yeah, you will want to craft a few of those. Of course, focus as previously. The red ones on attack and crit damage, the blue ones on HP percent and defense percent. And the second thing you unlock with Alchemy 6 will be super important for your summoner upgrades. And as we remember, the skill upgrades contribute to like over 30% of my overall summoner power. Will be to unlock these skill books. And these skill books are at the bottom of level 6. You can see them there. You can also unlock them from level 4 cooking. However, that recipe is insanely expensive compared to this one. So I don't actually recommend doing any books with that recipe because the cost will stack up quite a bit. Instead, you can just save these and when you finally unlock Alchemy 6, you will be able to blast through all of them. It will cost quite a bit of gold, but hopefully you can recover from that cost later on through other dungeons. But yeah, once you're here, you achieved level 6 alchemy, you will be able to craft these books. And once you craft these books can be found in your backpack. And once you use them, and make sure to use them on the summoner that you actively play, not any random user that you are playing with. You can use these books, and each book you use will give you an extra skill point. And these skill points can finally be used to max out a lot of your account. As you can see, I'm currently sitting at 1,500, and my utility tree is fully maxed, my passive tree is fully maxed, my skills are missing one skill up each, and the ultimate is missing two. I'm not focusing this because it only works on a specific element. It's very hard to balance, as well as the cost for this one is super high. As you can see, to level 5 last levels, it costs 225, so for me it's not worth it. But the way you want to skill up your stuff, so first of all, I do recommend going for the passive tree and maxing out your summoner skills. After that, I do recommend going for the utility, and in the utility tree, you will want to max all of them equally pretty much. Some of the most important ones are, of course, the first 4, so the mana regen and count, as well as the evasion count and regen. The other ones, I believe, this one, bond enhancement. This will allow you to tackle dungeons a bit easier because there will be cases where you do want to quickly switch to different units to heal, for example, or to cleanse a debuff. And at first level, I think it's like 30 seconds or something, and it's borderline unusable. You will want to max this, and it's pretty cheap to max, so I do recommend it. But yeah, overall, you do want to max them all eventually, and after that, you can start going for the chart and the basic skills. I don't recommend focusing on ultimates much because in a lot of the dungeons, you're actually not even using the ultimate due to the lack of power. But for the basic ability and the charged abilities, do start maxing them. I recommend them maxing sort of equally, or where you can put a maybe 1 to 2 point advantage to skills that really matter. So for example, for Orbeus, I believe their second skill provides defense break, meaning that it will give you a higher chance for defense break as well as the longer defense break. So you should focus that, for example, over a skill that just does pure damage. For my cleave, my most important skills are skill 1 and skill 3, so I maxed those first. I left this skill and the basic attack later. I think these were level 9 by the time these were level 6. And with some extra skill points, I finished both of these to level 9. And at the end, I leveled my ultimate from, I believe, 5 to level 8. Just for the pure power that you get. And once you're done with the skills, I mean, it will take quite a long time because, as you can see, I'm not even done with my skills myself. You can start slowly maxing out these two, but for the elements, I mean, by the time you're maxing them and you have all other 3 maxed out, you will know what you're doing in the game, and you will definitely don't need this guide to guide you on what to max. And now, the next step will depend on how fast you have progressed, and to see whether you need to do this step or another step, you'll have to go into the raid dungeon menu, and you have to look at the available raids for you. If Boiling Waterfall is released by the time you are coming to this step, you will want to do Boiling Waterfall first and do some dungeons. This dungeon will provide you a 5-star 4 Awakening Gear, which is even stronger than the White Shadow Castle. And you will want to gather some equipment the same way you did with Foggy Prison and the same way with Shadow Castle. And you will also want to replace your summoner equipment the same way you did with these. So meaning transfer all of the gems to the better gear, power up that better gear, equip white tier galaxy stones, moonstones, whichever enchantment items those are. I really confuse them a lot. And starting at this point, once you have completed Boiling Waterfall a few times, you will get a lot of these tokens, and these tokens you get from doing the dungeon as well as the quest that you need to do for the dungeon. This is where you will want to be looking into the shop, and for now, I don't recommend spending those coins on any of the 3 dungeons in here, personally, because I feel like the 2 awakening gear you can buy here, you will eventually replace with just like 4-star gear that you get from Naraka. And instead, you do want to save those tokens because these tokens will allow you to get specific gear that you want, which you can use later for crafting into 6-star gear. And if you do not save it, you will have to rely on RNG to drop that specific gear. For example, if you wanted to max a Foggy Prison shield and you never dropped one and you used all these tokens on a weapon, for example, you will be left waiting until you can either drop this or gather enough tokens for a high level shield. So I always recommend saving up these tokens, and you should start using them until Boiling Waterfall is released. And with these tokens, once you have them unlocked, this is the time where you will want to be unlocking another profession, and the profession is blacksmithing. You will want to go all the way up to level 7, and that's because at level 7, this is where you unlock 6-star gear. 6-star gear has a great advantage against 5-star gear because, first of all, main stats are significantly higher. All 6-star gear will always have 3 gem slots, so in case they were missing, that's another way to get those extra slots. And each 6-star gear will have 1 or 2 passives on that item. So, for example, as you can see, the Soul Deathblood weapon, this is from the Foggy Prison, it increases random attribute research skill by 2. This refers to the, what's it called? Right here, attribute research. So, for example, if you got a fire weapon and your attribute research for fire is level 7, when that weapon is equipped, it will act as if this skill is level 9, meaning it will give you 2 extra %. And yeah, this is super important when you're stacking a lot of these items. So you will want to get a set bonus for a shield, for example, for a specific weapon. For accessories, I'll guide you on whether or not you want to. And by this point, you'll also have to decide whether you are interested in focusing on PvP a lot or not, because that will determine which items you will want to be focusing on, as some items contribute to PvP more than the others. And you have enough time to decide until this dungeon is released. So the dungeon I'm referring to is, if you go to the party dungeon and Seal. I think Seal should be released before Twisted Marsh. However, you do want to wait until Seal anyway. So this dungeon, it will be a bit different. I'll also make a video explaining how to do it later when it releases. But for this dungeon, you have the ability to get 5-star 2 awakening to 5-star 4 awakening gear. Trust me, you will usually not be getting gear because the way this dungeon works is you basically roll dices, and if the number, you will get a number between 0 and 100. And if the number is below like 70, you'll usually just get some crafting items that you can see right here. When 70 or above, you'll start getting gear, and the gear rarity will depend on on whether the higher number you get is very high or a little bit lower. So for 70, you may get only a 2-star awakened gear. For numbers like 90, 95 plus, you may get 4-star awakened gear. Of course, it's all RNG, so once again, it will take a lot of time. You also get these chests, but more on them later on. And a lot of these supplement equipments, and of course, Ruined Temple coins, which you can use to buy even 6-star 1 awakened weapons right off the bat. And by this point, you will have decided whether you want to focus on PvP a lot or not. I personally don't enjoy PvP that much, and I do enjoy PvE content a lot more. This is why I went for the Seal gear over the, the PvP gear. And this is the main difference. Basically, if you enjoy PvE more and you're not that serious about PvP, you will want to craft a Seal type shield or sub-weapon, whatever it is for your Skeleton Summoner. That's because for the Twisted Marsh that will unlock later on, the bonus you get from this only increases the damage dealt by monsters. It does not actually give any stats, whereas the Seal shield you get is actually a straight up boost to your monster stats, meaning that since this special effect increases monster HP, all of your monsters will get I think it's 800 HP, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it's 800 HP. All of your units will be getting 800 HP. That 800 HP will translate to quite a bit of power, and that power will help you more in PvP compared to a shield that you would get from the Twisted Marsh dungeon. If you're more serious about PvP, you shouldn't farm the shield from the Seal and instead wait for this dungeon to be released. In this dungeon, you have the ability to get 5-star 4 awakened weapons and, well, basically all summoner equipment. But this dungeon drops very PvP focused equipment because, first of all, the set bonus, if you can see here, once you get all 4 accessories of this type, it increases damage taken by monsters in arena and battlefield by 11%. So this is by far the best accessory set for PvP, as in 11% damage decrease is super more useful than whatever stats that you could get from any of the earlier sets. And for the shield, it also increases damage dealt by monsters in arena and battlefield, and it is way better than the 8%, or not percent, but 800 HP that you would get from the Seal weapon. So if you're very serious about PvP, you do wait for this dungeon to be released and you do not craft a shield from the, the Seal dungeon, and instead go for the shield and accessories from here. That means that the Seal coins will most likely be used on a weapon, so you can start saving up 1120 coins, and with those coins you will be able to buy this weapon. You will be able to buy the last upgrade for the weapon through here, because since it only comes in level 1 awakening, you can level 2 awaken it pretty cheaply. These materials you will have a lot saved up as long as you don't spend them on random stuff. All 3 of these are pretty easy to get, and Skystones you will of course have a easy method to get a lot of. And so far, of course, these Seal weapons will be very expensive. I personally only have 1 so far. I dropped quite a few of these, but crafting them is expensive, and in most cases the materials you get from the dungeon will be pretty rare, and it will even be cheaper to just straight up buy the 6-star weapon with coins. But you can do either way. It just depends on what gear you are crafting, and you will be able to manage that way. And by the time all of these dungeons have released, so I'm not talking the Twisted Marsh, but mostly the Seal dungeon, you will also be one to crafting the other dungeon gear into weapons. Usually, if you're focusing PvP, you do want to keep the shield and the accessories for the, for the Twisted Marsh gear. If you're not focusing on PvP, I would still recommend getting a full list of accessories for that. However, you are able to get a different set of accessories for it as well. As you can see, the boosts that you get from those accessories is for the Foggy Prison accessory set, you get, your summoner gets 250 defense. For the White Shadow Castle set, your summoner gets 3400 HP. For the Boiling Waterfall set, your summoner gets 185 attack. And for the Seal accessories, your monsters will get 140 defense. I personally don't recommend focusing Seal drops on accessories, because first of all, it's super expensive, and I myself made a mistake of crafting one, and I really regret it right now, because I would have preferred to just get a full set of these, as I already have 3 foggy item, 3 foggy prison items, and instead I crafted that. But I could equip a 6-star weapon right here, but the bonus I get from that is not enough to substitute the OP bonus of these weapons. So yeah, I wasted a lot of stats, and I really don't recommend crafting Seal items into accessories. You should focus them on weapons, because weapons actually provide a way better boost, and each weapon will give you 85% or rather 85 flat attack to all of your monsters, and that boost is pretty huge. And yeah, now that you look into the storage, all of the gear that you have already acquired from the previous dungeons, like Foggy Prison, White Shadow Castle, and Boiling Waterfall, with that gear, as well as with those tokens, you can start filling up all of the weapons that you have from them, if you are, of course, not buying the accessories and the shield for it. So yeah, you will be able to focus on it. As you can see, I think these two are from Boiling Waterfall. I think both of these were bought with just straight up tokens from it, because I did have quite a few, and I did use quite a few tokens for refreshing that raid. You will also be able to level that gear up just a little bit more. So if you purchase the 6-star, you can go to 6-star 1 Awaken and 6-star 2 Awaken pretty cheaply. The main resource you will need are these Naraka Horns, which drop from the Boiling Waterfall. If you're going for the White Shadow Castle weapon, you will need a lot of these Midas lanterns. Just see which item you have plenty of and evolve that weapon into 6-star 2 Awaken. And because these materials are pretty rare, there is a good chance you will not be able to awaken the same type of weapon 5 times, meaning that if you're just going for 5 giant seal blunt weapons, you'll have a very hard doing so, because you will not have enough Midas light. So try to balance it out. Craft one weapon from Boiling Waterfall, one from the Foggy Prison, one from the White Shadow Castle. You might buy the second one from the Boiling Water, for example, and slowly work towards the seal Ruined Temple weapons when you have the ability to do so. And this pretty much covers all of the main stats that you get from various content in the game. Once you have acquired 6-star 2 Awaken gear, you can start looking into higher levels of alchemy. So you'll most likely need level 7 alchemy for it. With the level 7, you will be able to get these green gems, and for this I do recommend going for attack speed, because the other stats are pretty meh. Accuracy is a decent choice, but attack speed is by far the best in my opinion, because damage is something you always need, whereas precision you may not need, evasion may not help you at all, and attack speed is super useful. You can look into crafting blue or purple tier of these enhancement stones, books, moonstones, galaxy stones, and using those on the gear that you plan on using for a long time. So for example, if you already crafted a 6-star 2 Awaken gear of a seal time, for example, or a shield that you will constantly be using for PvP, you can equip them with purple items, because these items will of course provide a higher boost than the white ones. They are of course super expensive to craft, as you can see. For a lot of these, it's just regular materials, but the regular materials do require high amounts. There are several different recipes, so usually this tritium can be replaced with various dungeon items. So for this one, it's the Borbos Magma, which you get from the Lava Cave, I believe. For these ones, you can replace it with the Talades Carapace. What is that? I think it's the one that drops for the 3rd Lizard dungeon. This one, Sugar Cliff Fragments, drops from the 4th Path of Growth dungeon. And yeah, this way you can power them up. I personally haven't gotten to that stage because, first of all, I haven't gotten that good gear to waste purple tier enhancement stones with. Second of all, I do want to go with the Master Promotion first, which does require you to get a lot of these books. As you can see, you need 20 of these Supreme Moonstones, 20 of 2 different types of spell books. This one I already pretty much done because I have like 20 of them in storage, I believe. But yeah, gems you will of course be completing first, because gems are the most important enhancement item and you will want to craft a lot of those. Yeah, as you can see, if I go to the enhancement, yeah, I have a lot of these green gems because since attack speed is only one of the 5 available stats on that item, it will be pretty hard to get, and I finally managed to get all 5 of my green gems on attack speed, and it took me around 18 extra crafts or something like that to get all of those gems powered up. But yeah, pretty much this covers the whole guide to the progression. Don't forget that in between those guides, you of course want to be building new Nat 4 units, new Nat 5 units, skilling them up fully, awakening them even more, summoning dupes through the Altar Blessing if you do need extra raids. Through here you can increase all of your chances by up to 40% when summoning the unit, because more dupes means the higher level awakening you can get and the higher level book your level ups. So yeah, I think this concludes it. If you do have any questions, do let me know. For reference, the progress I've made so far with all of the mistakes I mentioned is getting to 510,000 power pretty much. 2 of these are event units, so also once you get the Bastet event, if you're watching this early on, I do recommend farming hard on them, because as you can see, up to this day, she is by far my most powerful unit. And yeah, Ifrit, of course, was also another event, so he again gets a lot of power. And if you also fix the mistakes that I've made with my progress, you will be able to reach even further progress from it. And yeah, oh, by the way, for reference, I'm not a heavy spender. I spent $20 on this game for 2 summoner passes, so no, this was not boosted with $1,000 of cash. This is something easily achievable. As you can see, while I don't go hard on the leaderboards, I'm currently top 57 in summoner power, top 56 in monster power, so it's definitely still achievable to complete everything, even if you don't spend much on this game, or even at all. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and this will be a pretty long video. I hope you did find it useful, especially if you watched the whole thing, and peace.